Hello guys and welcome to my Budget Deck channel. Today with the Budget Deck profile of Gimmick Puppets. They've just got new support. It's the cheapest one out of the whole set, I felt like. So I felt like making a deck, and I noticed something while making this deck. You don't see the trap card in here. I will upload a different profile, so stay tuned for that with the trap card that focuses more around the fact of the trap card. But I have to actually say the trap card is... It causes a few problems on this deck, because clearly from what the effects of the monsters do, clearly from a lot of effects of the extra deck monsters as well, this deck is meant to be going second. This deck has a lot of kind of mechanics in the deck that make it really good going second. And for all of this, it would be weird to play a trap card that you can't activate somehow from your hand, just for the fact if you go first, you could possibly maybe get off the effect, which... I feel like, yeah, it can be quite nice, it can be quite helpful, but it's making it way harder to build a deck around it, because this deck has no real place but Bagoo's Can Pass for going first turn. And I feel like this is the exact problem with it. If you make a deck around the trap card, then you kind of have to go first, because if you go second, you brick with the trap cards. If you actually decide to go first, then you don't have any plays, and probably can't recover with the trap card as much against like an actual good deck that it's worth to run the trap. So I felt like the first deck pro that I wanted to put up here is actually without the trap card. It's just a go second version. You can do stuff going first, but it will not get you far, I would say. So it's more like a trains kind of deck from how it works. And starting right off with one of the level 8 kaijus, you could run the machine one as well, so it would work a little bit more with Machine Cannon. But you also can run this one or the dragon one for whatever reasons you want to because of trade-in. So level 8 works with that. Triple a Gimmick Puppet Magnet Doll, because if I'm not mistaken, you can special summon this card multiple times if your opponent controls a monster and you control a Gimmick Puppet. So even if you draw multiple of this will lead to you having a rank 8 Gimmick Puppet for sure. Another one, the new one, which makes the deck pretty good, is the Gimmick Puppet Bisque Doll. It's basically somewhat the same as what Machine Cannon does, kind of. I mean, you have to discard a card, a Gimmick Puppet Monster. Also, a Gimmick Puppet Monster is really annoying, because it's one of those era decks where the spell cards aren't named after the archetype, so it makes it harder to search, and you don't have anything like that. But this card helps you, obviously. It gives you graveyard setup, but the only card you really want in your graveyard is Jerry Doll, because it's the only one that has a useful graveyard effect. Yes, Terror Baby and Bisque Doll have effects that work in the graveyard, but most of the time, till you have them in graveyard, you probably don't need the effects that much anymore. So yeah, I mean, your opponent can target Gimmick Puppet Monster control with card effects this turn. Can be neat against Sky Strikers, for example. That can be quite helpful. But other than that, yeah. And if not, they just negate the effect anyway. Machine Cannon, very strong in my opinion. You can get other kind of rank 8s out with this card, because it isn't restricted to anything. You have to discard a Machine Monster from your hand, which can work with stuff like Drilly Doll, or even the other graveyard effects as well. So I wouldn't sleep on that card. Yeah, but mainly you'll probably go into the Link Monster with this as well. Gimmick Puppet Drilly Doll, well, good target for Machine Dupe. I feel like that's nice. Can special summon off of the graveyard, which is also quite nice. And then on the other hand, can only be used for an Xyz summon for a Gimmick Puppet Monster. Makes it not so nice, but I mean, that's kind of what you're playing. So you see in the extra deck mainly Gimmick Puppets anyway. Double Direster Prankertops, so you could play any other kind of shenanigans as well, but I feel like Prankertops as a go second deck is kind of helpful of getting rid of specific cards in your opponent's field. Double Mecha Phantom Beast Tether Wolf, you can play any one card Machine Link Monster, like that helps you go into like your Link Monster, because it doesn't require Gimmick Puppets. Actually just takes 2 Machine Monsters, so that card with the little token works nice, but you have a lot of cards that you want to normal summon as well, so that can be problematic. That's why when you play a 2 with the Machine Cannon as an addition, but Machine Cannon sometimes gets rid of too many of your resources, because this deck is quite tight on resources as well, especially if you go second. You have to run stuff like hand traps, kaijus, and so on. So I feel like, yeah, you have to look a little bit with the ratios there. The next up is definitely one Gimmick Puppet Egghead. I know not a lot of people are playing this, but first of all, hear me out, it is really helpful in time, so having one that's searchable with the Link Monster in your deck isn't too bad. Plus, it's another level 4 monster. Since you actually have a rank 4 play now, level 4 monsters in this deck aren't too bad. So if you summon it out with Humpty Dumpty or with Terror Baby, you're basically halfway there. Plus you can make it level 8 if you maybe even have no other way to discard Jerry Doll, then that is something where you can do it. So I feel like this card adds more to the deck as you'd think it would. So I feel like at 1, this card is actually pretty fine in the deck. Plus you want to have Gimmick Puppet names in your deck, since you basically have to discard Gimmick Puppets now. And if you start with a hand where you only have 2 Gimmick Puppets and you basically need the other one, which is like Magnet Doll or whatever, to go off in your place, yeah, then that can be a problem if you have to discard it. So that's always another name in the deck to discard if you really don't need it. Gimmick Puppet Terror Baby does synergize a little bit with Bisque Doll, does synergize a little bit with the whole like we have it stuff in the graveyard kind of thing. So I feel like it can be super neat, but since there's not a real way for it to actually change the level, it will probably mainly be used either for the rank 4, but since you don't run that many level 4s, possibly for the Link monster a lot of the time, and the graveyard effect would be super nice if you could get this card into the graveyard a little bit earlier. I mean, there's gonna be new support for Gimmick Puppets, the Foolish Burial, that lets you drop a lot of monsters into the graveyard, so maybe this effect will come up more often with that card. Next up, another play starter, another instant Link monster, basically, if you have the setup for it. Gimmick Puppet Humpty Dumpty. I like and dislike this card. Yeah, it's like a Goblinberg or something. You can special summon Gimmick Puppet monster from your hand. Even if this card is special summoned, it's kind of neat. You can only use it once per turn though, so you can't make like a big chain of empty your whole hand, which mainly you'll probably have around like 2 to 3 Gimmick Puppets in your hand anyway. So I feel like that's not going to happen. It wouldn't happen that much anyway. But as much as Terror Baby, this is another target for machine duplication. So I think that can be quite nice. Problematic is that if you don't have another Gimmick Puppet in your hand, or it's like a level 8 one and that's your only one. If you only have 2 in your hand, it's going to be hard for you, and none of them is Jerry Doll. It's going to be hard for you to go into any place, because Jerry Doll at least comes back from the graveyard. The rest of them, not so much. So there's another problem of the deck that I kind of felt like can cost you the game more often than not. Ash Blossom Joyous Spring, because you go in second, so you kind of want to disrupt your opponent. Since this card doesn't cost too much anymore, so it's still within the budget limits, but also the rest of the deck basically costs nothing in my opinion, then I think you can play Ash Blossom, but you can play whatever you want. There's a lot of options of stuff now in the bureau if you want to. Dark Ruler no more, there's those kind of things. Super Poly if you really want, but I wouldn't recommend it. Those kind of things, because if you play Super Poly, then you obviously waste your extra monster zone and you can't go into the Chimera Doll, which you kind of need most of the time. Effect Veiler, same thing, you can use it multiple times per turn as well, so if you draw multiple of them, it's not necessarily a break against most decks. Double Trade-In, not triple, because I feel like sometimes you need your card, and it's quite... If you draw into another Trade-In with your Trade-In, then you probably have a card in hand that you maybe not want to get rid of, so I feel like that was not necessary. Rank Up Magic Numeron 4 is 1, because you could play it at 3. I feel like it takes a lot of power out of your hand if you start with 2 of them especially. But sometimes when you start with a card and you don't have the proper setup to go into your like one of your level 8s, yeah, like your rank 8s, then it can be quite difficult to actually make use of this card. So I feel like, yes, at 1, it can be nice. You don't have to play it at all. I feel like it can be helpful sometimes. It's one of those things where I'm not quite sure about it. Machine Duplication, well, I think it's a must in this deck. Even with the new Link monster now, that you can actually search certain cards and then special summon them out. So even if you don't happen to have a card in your hand that works with Machine Duplication, if you get the Link monster out, you will go into one most likely if your opponent doesn't disrupt you like crazy. So I feel like this card definitely has a space in this deck. Double Junk Puppet, because you can only activate it once per turn, and if like I said before, a lot of those cards are like, if you then draw 2 of them, so if you play it at 3, then you lose a lot of power in this deck. So I feel like at 2 it's quite neat. Having this kind of option extending your plays is pretty strong. That's why you run another Monster Reborn, because yeah, there will be a lot of stuff in your graveyard at points, and it extends your plays by quite a lot. Foolish Burial in this deck, you don't have to run it. I'm still not sure whether I should or should not play it. It can be neat sending stuff like Jerry Doll or even Terror Baby there. Plus, sometimes it gets a negate out of your opponent as well if they don't really know what to play against, because Foolish Burial can hit quite hard, it can start quite a lot of plays. That's why it's at 1 as well. Yeah, you have to decide that for yourself. And double twin twister, a lot of those cards in the deck will possibly be like, you have to side them out if it doesn't make sense. If you're playing against a super combo deck like whatever, Thunder Dragon, whatever, then you probably don't need Twin Twister, so you have to side that out then. But I'm just trying to make it as plain as possible, and the discard effect kind of works. And there's things where you can use it, but if you feel like my matchup doesn't require me to run it, then side it out for any other kind of things. But I don't think I have to explain your side decking here, because I think you'll be quite capable of that yourself. What I run is one number C40 and one number C15. They're basically alrighty. I mean, you get pop on off cards of your opponent, but since you only run one rank up magic that you can't search, that's probably already I would nearly say too much if the extra deck space of this deck wouldn't totally not matter, because you can basically only go into Gimmick Puppets anyway. Two other options that you have is, like, for my opinion, Galaxy-Sized Tachyon Dragon, because it helps you in the battle phase, and possibly a Harbinger if you don't want your opponent to pop off next turn. I feel like those were the ones that were helpful, but you can go for any other ones. But mainly you'll be stuck with Gimmick Puppets. Anyway, there's only like very rare scenarios where you're not locked to them. Next up, Gimmick Puppet of Strings are 2, because what the effect is, yeah, questionable, because you have to wait to the next end phase of the opponent thing. Like, you have to wait ages, and at this point it doesn't matter. This card is only relevant for the 3000 attack points basically, and for the effect then that you can get with the chaos number. The real playmaker of this deck, as if I can't call it like that, is definitely Giant Grinder, because up to twice per turn you can detach one Xyz material from this card and target one special summon monster your opponent controls, destroy it, which is pretty good. So you can get off 2 monsters your opponent has. Sadly, the attack value of this card is underwhelming, so pushing for game will be quite hard as well. People know that it's commonly known that Gimmick Puppets don't have the best of all like extra deck monsters, so I feel like that's pretty fair. Baguska, if you have to go first, there is some cards that you can easily get into Baguska, basically with like stuff like Machine Dupe or Humpty Dumpty is a possibility, but that's basically only first turn play. That's like, if you don't play the trap card, you have nothing going first turn. So yeah, basically like trains then. Gimmick Puppet Gigantus Doll are 2, because this card can help you OTK if you somehow manage to get the damage on board. Can be super strong. It's gonna be a hard one, but yeah, it's hard. It works against fusion decks a little bit like Heroes possibly, because you can actually use the monsters then to go into Gimmick Puppets. Other than that, yeah, it's somewhat okay removal. I mean, let's not criticize it. It's a rank 4 for Gimmick Puppets, so that works. Nightmare Phoenix, Nightmare Cerberus. If there's a card that you really, really, really need to get rid of and you don't have the options for it, do that. And Gimmick Puppet Chimera Doll, you could play it at 3, but I felt like if a duel with Gimmick Puppets take that long that you have the chance to 3 times go into this card, then something went terribly wrong. Because either your opponent has stomped you by that, you ran out of resources by that, or you finished the duel by that. But you're not going to get this card out 3 times in a normal duel, in my opinion. You'll barely have the resources to do that. That's at least from me testing this deck. But if you say I want to play a 3, well, go for it. The space is not necessarily tight. Just cut one of the other cards and you will be fine. Hope you enjoyed this deck profile so far. If you want to get the deck profile with the trap card, that's more focused on the trap card and trap tick and so on, then subscribe to the channel, leave a like, do all those kind of things that the YouTubers tell you, and I hope you have a good day.